everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of the Helpful Leader podcast. Today, I am your host, James Oyola. And as with every episode, I'm really excited about today's guest. It's someone that I've known for a very long time. He's doing some amazing things in and outside of the workplace. And I can't wait for you to meet him. Everyone join me in welcoming Mr. Fernando Lennon.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, man. Thank you for joining us. So, Fernando, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, like Jay said, my name is Fernando Lennon. I am a single school behavior coach in Palm Beach County. Essentially, my job is to go in to assist teachers with classroom management and building positive relationships with their students.
Wow. What got you into that field?
Well, I was an English language arts teacher for 14 and a half years in Palm Beach County. Wow. There was a position available that I definitely couldn't turn down. And I pursued it with a lot of vigor because I knew that I could take my expertise and help out those teachers that are struggling.
So this is an interesting dynamic because you went from teaching teenagers, right, to teaching adults.
Right.
What would you say is the biggest contrast in learning styles between a younger learner and a more seasoned learner?
Well, I'm going to be honest. It's tougher dealing with the adults versus the students. And they may be shocking, but adults, they get in their ways and they get kind of stubborn. So it's my job to go in to show them, hey, listen, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just going to show you some things that you could do in order to assist and make sure that things are smoother than they are now.
Yeah, I can see that and I think you hit it on the head. Adult learners are more set in their ways. Right. They've had more time to adapt how they want to learn, what they want to do, whereas the more younger crowd, they're more prone to being sponges. Do you have children?
Yes, I do.
How many children?
I have 2. I have 2 daughters.
2 daughters, and you're married?
Yes, most definitely.
How long have you been married?
I feel like forever and a day. I'm joking. No, I've been married since 2012 to my wonderful wife, Vanessa.
Okay, shout out to Miss Vanessa. So on the Helpful Leader podcast, we don't just talk about leadership as it pertains to business or workplace culture. We like to expand that, and we like to talk about in all aspects of life. What would you say for you has been, your number one greatest leadership lesson in being a father?
The greatest lesson was that you can't impose your will on your kids. You have to teach them and guide them.
Sure.
But when you try to impose your will, they're going to buck against whatever you're trying to instill in them if you're not approaching them the right way. If you're not trying to instill it the right way, if you're trying to be the hammer and treat them like the nail, 9 times out of 10, they're going to rebel.
And what I know about you is that's awesome because, and for those that don't know, so Fernando's oldest daughter is a Division I basketball 3-point specialist. Be on the lookout for her. And I know you said your youngest daughter also is brilliant in her own right. Tell me a little bit about her.
So my youngest daughter, Melissa, she's 13. She's a 7th grader now at Forest Glen Middle School. She's a dancer.
Okay.
She's a baker.
What?
She's an opinionist. She's going to tell you how she feels no matter what.
Yeah.
I had to, have a one-on-one with her recently about being overly opinionated.
Sure.
I would never try to dim her light.
Sure.
But I'll just let her know, hey, it's a way to say things. It's a way to go about things.
Sure.
But, by all means, let them know.
Yeah.
But do it the right way.
Oh, that's good. That's good leadership because to be an opinionist, I believe you have to have a level of courage and confidence.
Definitely.
Right? Courage to say what's coming out and the confidence to believe that it needs to be said. So even you said it was Melissa? Melissa, and even at at the age of a 7th grader, man, shout out to you for your courage and your confidence. But yes, you're right. How we do it, as they say, it's not what we say, but it's how we say it. Fernando, I understand that you are a newly published author.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about your book. If you could show it to the audience. Man, what is the title of your book?
The title of my book is Perseverance Over Pain, A Survivor's Story.
Okay.
And it's a memoir about my life from the beginning all the way up until 2024. So I have a wide array of different experiences in there that definitely can help whoever reads it.
Now, I want to just kind of hover over that last phrase that you said. It can help whoever reads it. What is your desired outcome for you, for the person who starts at page 1 and ends at the final chapter? What do you want them to walk away with?
I want them to be able to walk away with the fact that they can overcome any and everything through the power of God. That they don't have to let their circumstances define them, that they can define their circumstances. Because at the end of the day, we all have gone through things and will go through things. But it's the faith that you have in the Lord in order to persevere through the pain.
Yeah. No pun intended.
No pun intended.
That's good. That was good marketing. And now I see where young Melissa gets it from, because to write a book, you also have to have your own level of courage and confidence. Because I know a lot of people who tell me, The Helpful Leader is my second book. My first one, Get Out of Your Own Way, was published 11 years ago. And when I wrote Get Out of Your Own Way, I had a lot of people like, man, that's so dope. You wrote a book. Like, I want to write a book. Like, I wouldn't know where to start. And I always encourage people that I'm not special. Like, anybody could do that. And so for you, man, what motivated you to take your story and make the decision to say, you know what, I want to put this on print for people to actually have with them and digest?
Well, when I was in the classroom setting teaching, I would always lead off the beginning of the year with my story, letting the kids know, hey, listen, these are the struggles that I had growing up. This is how I overcame it. Don't think for any reason that I don't understand what you may be going through.
That's good.
And you can persevere through your struggles by doing X, Y, and Z. Let's go. That was my motivational tool that I utilized. Now, working with adults, when I go in and I do certain trainings district-wide or in the actual school setting, I let the teachers know, hey, listen, this is why these strategies can work. Because when I was a kid, these are the things that I went through. And hopefully you can help the kids that you come in contact with overcome their struggles by being that light of inspiration.
So what would you say to the individual listening to this, and what they're grasping is the power of being relatable, right? Like I want to be able to relate with the people that I have a chance to influence. But there's a responsibility there, because that person who's listening to this right now on this podcast is now wondering, well, how relatable? Like, what's the difference between, being relatable but not crossing any boundaries where there's a disrespect, or where now the students or my adult learners aren't still holding me in a high regard as their professor? What would your counsel be to that person who wants to be relatable but doesn't understand that there's probably boundaries within that?
Well, the first thing that I would tell them is to ensure that they are cognizant of boundaries, teaching their students what boundaries are. Because at the end of the day, some of the parents, believe it or not, don't know what boundaries are and don't even place an emphasis on what boundaries are.
It's true.
So the fact of the matter is, I always tell teachers, never get too comfortable. Just because you're sharing what you struggled with back in the day doesn't mean that you share other personal information like current events.
Sure.
Like, for instance, if you're dealing with relationship issues currently, that's not their business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the things that you went through as a child, the things that make you relatable, you utilize that, because I believe in using your trauma as a superpower in order to get through to those that are going through troublesome times.
Yeah, that's good. Like the Bible talks about the power of your testimony. Right. You know what I mean? There's a lot of power in that. And I love that you start off your engagements with a story. I believe, and I've learned to respect and appreciate the power of telling your story by a close friend of mine who actually does that as a profession. What would you say? So was it challenging for you writing a memoir and going deep into your past, which might cause you to revisit some pains? What was that process like for someone who's watching this or listening to this and they're like, man, I got a story to tell too, It's crazy, but they might be apprehensive because of how gritty, grungy, grimy, all the G's you could think of that coincides with their story. What was that like for you, and what encouragement would you give a soon-to-be aspiring author in your shoes?
So I will say this. Starting off, it wasn't easy to start the entire process. In order to make sure I didn't cheat myself nor the potential readers, I had to lock myself in my room upstairs and kind of close myself off to the outside world and the inside world, because I had to kind of not disassociate myself away from my youngest daughter and my wife, but I had to lock in because I wanted to channel those feelings and those emotions that I was experiencing as a child, going through those rough patches that I experienced. And I created a timeline of events. I started from birth all the way up to 2024. And I jotted down the significant events or the most impactful events, and I built from there. And I will say to the aspiring readers, the inspiring writers, that you have to lock in. You definitely have to lock in, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to start the writing process and then complete the writing process and say to yourself, hey, did I get it all out? Did I put everything that's needed for my audience? Because at the end of the day, it's about the writer, but it's also about your audience. Because with my book, I'm trying to help people. I've already received the help that I needed, spiritually, physically, emotionally, relationship-wise. But now my goal and my desire and my purpose in life is to help those that are struggling, that have struggled, to show them that, hey, listen, it's not over.
Right.
You got work to do.
Yeah. That's good, man. Thank you for sharing that. And now that we're talking about aspiring writers, shout out Raw Riot Publishing. They published Fernando's book as well as mine. And so if you're looking for a publisher that will work with you, that's professional, it can get you where you need to be. Shameless plug, Raw Riot Publishing can definitely do that for you. So, Fernando, here on the Helpful Leader podcast, we talk about leadership in and outside of the workplace. And we ask every guest this signature question that we have. So, if you had the ability to save the world as a leader, right? You were a leadership hero, and you had one superpower that you will choose to save the whole world from bad leadership, right? Here are your three options, and I would love to know and to share with our guests, what would you select and why? So option number 1, emotional intelligence. Option number 2, conflict resolution. And option number 3, effective communication. And these are doing all those things in a healthy and effective way. Which one would be your superpower to save the world, and why?
It would be number 3, option number 3, effective communication. And I have to bring personal experience in this.
Sure.
When I first got married, I was not an effective communicator. As a matter of fact, to be 100% transparent, for the first half of my marriage, I wasn't an effective communicator. I was the type that, hey, listen, when I said something, that's how I thought it should be. I thought it was law. You know what I mean? Without gaining any insight from my wife nor my oldest daughter. Through coming to Jesus moments and constant communication with my wife, and just taking a step back and looking in the mirror, I noticed that I was doing it all wrong. Because communication is key to anything, relationship-wise, business-wise, career-wise, any and everything. If you have effective communication skills and you're an active listener, you could do anything.
Yeah.
Without it, it's difficult. And it's an unnecessary difficulty that if we're able to get over ourselves as males and actually listen, we can be effective communicators. And I think I can definitely save the world with effective communication skills. Man,
that's great. I hope you guys are taking notes. I hope you guys are paying attention, because he's dropping some gems here. Because, me and my experience, and as well, I can relate to that as far as being deceived and thinking I was a better communicator than I actually was, because of my inability to listen effectively. I also know, like, we can offend, when it comes to offending someone, we can offend people intentionally or unintentionally. And what I've seen, whether it be in business or even in my marriage, the relationship with my 4 children or family, is the greater offense and the greater opportunity for division and destruction is the unintentional offense. Is when you don't mean to say something, or you didn't mean for it to come out that way, or you just reacted versus responding. And so my counsel to anyone listening to what Fernando just said is, if and when you unintentionally offend people and that causes conflict, man, learn from that. Like, please don't stop learning, because that's where you get the data you need to be effective in communication. I didn't learn how horrible of a listener I was until I saw that all the words that I was giving people weren't impacting them. Right. They weren't making a difference. Right. And they weren't making a difference because they were the wrong set of words. Or in some cases, they were words that weren't even requested. They were unsolicited opinions. Right. And I've come to appreciate the heart posture of, in the context of listening to someone, let's say someone who's struggling with something, to not say anything unless they give me the permission to. Because sometimes people just want to be heard. Right. They don't want someone to prescribe and diagnose what they're going through, I want to go back to perseverance over pain. Where are you from? Where was this, like the setting, the backdrop is where?
Miami, Florida.
Miami, Florida. Okay, shout out to the 305. Here's the conundrum. You write your book and you talk about your pain and how you persevered. But I'm pretty sure a lot of what you write about that could be attributed to your pain also influenced the man that you've become. Tell me a little bit about how Miami, everything that you went through, has all played a role into the gentleman that sits next to me today.
Well, the experiences that I had growing up in Miami ultimately led to the boldness that I have today. I used to internalize a lot. I never had that go-to person to be able to share my experiences with growing up. So even after I made it out of the turmoil that I went through, no one ever sat me down and said, "Hey, you know what? Let me know what you experienced when you were on the street. Talk to me. How do you feel? How did going through those experiences make you feel?" Because at the end of the day, I think the main concern was, hey, as long as he has this foundation,
sure.
Now from there, he has to get it how he lives. You know what I mean?
Get it how you live.
So the fact of the matter is, after I got into education, before I started teaching, I was a probation officer too.
Wow.
So
interesting
I went
transition.
through a few, transitional periods as far as career choices are concerned.
Yeah.
And when I became an educator and I saw myself in my students, it gave me this boldness, to just go out and let people know, hey, listen, you're better than your circumstances. And that's where that boldness came from. And the other half of the boldness came from my close relationship with the Lord. The Lord put it in me, put that battery in my back. Like, listen, I helped get you through, or I delivered you from all of this turmoil that you went through, and I made sure that you were sane and safe. Yeah. Now it's time to do work.
Oh. I love that you said that you used the word deliver. One of my favorite books in the Bible is the book of Exodus. And, Exodus is a story of God delivering, the Israelites out of enslavement from Egypt. Right. And there's this saying in the church that you might have heard where they say, God took the Israelites out of Egypt, but it took a while for God to take Egypt out of the Israelites. Right. And so in your perspective, God delivered you from Miami. If you wouldn't mind just sharing what was the process like of him getting Miami out of you?
Well, to be honest, it's still in me, but it takes a lot of prayer to be cognizant and mindful that bits and pieces of it are still in me.
Sure.
Because I find myself running to various situations where the devil stayed on attack.
Right.
And oftentimes he'll attack you through your place of business.
Sure.
Especially when you're dealing with a different or a wide array of people.
Sure.
You know, it attacks in the household, you know. And I have to remind myself, hey, listen, I'm not who I used to be.
Sure.
You know, I'm a new person, but oftentimes we can allow the devil to, you know that phrase, trick us off these streets.
Yeah, sure.
We're placed in certain scenarios or situations where it takes us back to something that happened in the past.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the listeners probably can relate to this one. When you're in traffic and you get cut off, and you think about your younger days when you used to, you know, when you got cut off and what you would have done or what you used to do.
Sure.
And I found myself mentioning things like that to my wife, like, babe, boy, I'm glad this happened now and not
back in the day.
Because back in the day I would have did X, Y, and Z. And my wife looks at me and like, well, you're not who you used to be. And I look at her and like, you know what, babe, you're right.
Yeah, good.
You're right. As hard as it is, because you know that, and I heard in one of your previous podcasts where you all mentioned machismo.
Yeah.
It's hard because of the machismo or the
pride.
The pride comes into play. Like, no, I know they didn't cut me off.
Right.
You know, but the thing that comes into play, and I have these subtle reminders around me where I listen to like a lot of gospel rap.
Sure.
So I'll listen to a lyric and the lyric will hit me and say, you know, in essence, hey, you're not who you used to be.
Yeah.
You're a new creature.
Wow.
And those subtle reminders from my wife or the music that I'm listening to or I listen to help remind me that, hey, listen, I'm not the old me. I'm the new me. And sometimes the devil will try to trick you to make you believe that, hey, you're still that same person. Go ahead and feed into that feeling.
Sure.
Or feed into that pride.
Sure.
You know, don't let them try you like that. And,
sure.
You know, those constant reminders, constant prayer is definitely needed because oftentimes, you know, we can always revert back to the old us.
Yeah.
If we allow ourselves to. Yeah.
That's good. And for the listeners and the viewers in Dade County, I want to clarify, getting Miami out of him was more so the elements of the culture and the environment that might have been a potential contributor of his destruction. Right. But not the city itself. It's a beautiful city. I love Miami. I lived in Miami for quite some time. So for those that don't know, Fernando's a very interesting guest for me because I met you when I was 19.
Right.
I'll be 44 next month. And so, I had the pleasure of meeting you then when we were in college. I was a sophomore. Were you a sophomore or freshman? 2001. Were you a sophomore?
2001, I was a sophomore.
So we were both sophomores, so pretty much the same age.
Right.
You were probably 20 or 19
when
we met. So this is August 2001. If you could go back and talk to Fernando then, from the stance that you are at now, what would you tell that young man at FAU in August of 2001?
Oh, that's easy, man. Hey, listen, I would tell him, hey, tighten up, man.
Tighten up,
man. What are you doing? Like, you doing all this foolishness that is not even in your DNA. You come up here and you're about to lose everything. God delivers you through so much to the point where you're going to get up here and you're going to totally change your identity.
Yeah.
For what? For these people around that don't care about you? For these people that want you to crash out because it's a form of entertainment for them? That's the main thing I would tell them. Because I was a different person, as you know.
Sure,
I was totally a different person. Yeah.
Me too.
Definitely. But, you know, through the grace of God, you know, we made it.
Amen. What's that like talking to, what's your oldest daughter's name? Janessa. What's that like talking to Janessa, if you don't mind me asking, as you help her navigate through, you know, the early part of her collegiate life?
It's difficult because as a parent, you don't want to be overbearing.
Yeah.
Which we often come off as being.
Sure.
You know.
What do you mean by overbearing?
Overbearing, like you don't want to have complete control over their decisions in their life. You want to put them in a situation where they're making the decisions, but you're there to be their guide.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I give her a lot of cautionary tales about the experiences that I had. Even though we're two totally different people.
Right.
You know, I was more on the scene and at the parties doing all kind of things.
Yeah.
But she's not she's the complete opposite.
That's cool.
Which is a blessing.
Yeah.
But I try to make sure that she knows she has options.
Yeah.
You know, and based on the options that she chooses, hey, this could happen or that can happen.
Right.
You know, and oftentimes, based on my experience with dealing with, students in the classroom setting, I know that if you're the overbearing parent, 9 times out of 10, that child's going to go against whatever you try to instill in them, just off of the fact that, hey, you're trying to tell me what to do. All right, I'm going to show you. I'm going to do it my way.
Right.
Which oftentimes leads to destruction.
Yeah. There might be someone who's listening or watching and they caught something you said a little while ago and they might want to know a little bit more about that, because I know I certainly do. What led you to transition from being a probation officer into an educator?
All right. So being a probation officer back in Delray and Palm Beach.
Mm-hmm.
At first, it was a learning experience, and I got a chance to see the judicial system for what it was.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
But after a while, I started complaining. I started saying to myself, hey, listen, I'm tired of the clients coming in saying that they were going to do what they need to do. Then all of a sudden, they violate probation. They end up going to jail, going to court, getting placed back on probation, and rinse and repeat.
Yeah, system.
Over and over again. Yeah. Recidivism is something serious in the system.
Sure.
So I said to myself, you know what? Instead of complaining about the system, I need to do something where I could reach them before they get to this point.
Wow. That's
and
good.
Had a godson, and that his grandmother was in the district, and she gave me the tips, tools, and strategies on what to do in order to get into education.
Wow.
And the rest was history. It seemed like everything was seamless because it was what I was supposed to be doing. Now, to be 100% transparent, before I started teaching, I couldn't stand kids.
Yeah.
At all.
Not a lot of people can.
The concept of even teaching was something foreign to me.
Sure.
I was like, you know what? I'm not teaching kids. Me? No. With my background? But when I started teaching, after my first year, of course, it became seamless to the point where it became fun because I was able to see those light bulbs go off in those young minds. I was able to see transformation happen before my eyes from August to June. And it was almost like therapy.
Yeah.
Because I was able to do some things that weren't done for me when I was going through what I was going through in Miami.
Right.
I ended up becoming an extension of my uncle that helped get me off the street. You know, the things that he was doing when I was in high school that I was observing that he was doing for others, like saving lives, I ended up doing something similar without even realizing it.
That's powerful. Wow, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I love, man, if you're listening to this, just I want you to understand what he just said. He said that he wanted to change. He wanted to impact change, and he realized that he had to go back to when you talk about a human being. I can't do it at the adult level. Let me meet them where they're at in their youth, right, to try to catch them before they make the mistakes that end up leading to be my client as a probation officer. Man, I love that, because what that shows me, brother, is your commitment to impacting change, but also people. And so one thing I want to ask you is, What would you say your purpose is in life, if you feel that you have one?
My purpose in life, God has already revealed it to me. My purpose in life is to inspire those that need inspiration, to motivate the ones that feel like things are hopeless. Because I was one of those people.
Sure.
I talk about it in my book. I had a situation where I was going to commit suicide.
Well,
and I decided not to. At a young age, I used some type of common sense to say, hey, listen, if it doesn't work 100%, then I can have some type of issues going forward, which would debilitate me and cause me to be a potential victim on the streets of Miami.
Right.
And, growing up where we grew up, you got to have all your limbs. You got to make sure you're ready to go. And, you got your head on the swivel because you never know what's going to come, So I decided against it. And as I got older, I realized that there's kids and young adults that are going through rough patches that are considering to do something similar.
Yeah.
But they need to know that there's a potential light at the end of the tunnel. As long as you got air in your lungs and you can wake up every day, you got a chance. You have a fighting chance.
That's what I believe. In my prayers, and my children even kind of imitate this. We thank God for the breath we have in our lungs,
right? Because
we're conscious that, I woke up this morning, right? There's nothing that I did to give myself breath,
right,
this morning. Like all I did was open my eyes and use my limbs to get out of bed.
Right.
But I didn't will myself to have breath. And so for me, I firmly believe that the giver of the breath that I am able to be a benefactor of, I have to return that with some sort of value, right? Like what's that return on investment? What am I doing with the breath that I was given this morning? A breath that I didn't give myself. So I love that you say that, because that definitely speaks purpose. Where can people find your book?
So my book is available on all major platforms.
Okay.
Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Ingram Spark. All you have to do is type in my title, Perseverance Over Pain, A Survivor Story, and you'll find it on any all major markets.
And speaking of Barnes & Noble, you have a book signing coming up?
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So the book signing is April 4th.
Okay.
From 1 to 3 o'clock. And I'm definitely looking forward to those that can attend. It's going to be at the Barnes & Noble in Coral Springs, Florida.
Okay. Yeah. Man, that's cool, man. And from a keeping up with Fernando perspective, how can people find you after this podcast?
So I'm on all social media platforms under Fernando Lennon. And, check me out on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter. IG, and that's about it.
That's cool. I wanted to get those out the way. I usually save those for the end, but I wanted to get those out of the way before I forget, because I have two more important questions that we cannot leave here without addressing. The first one is probably simple, and we've talked about it, but I'm interested. What is your leadership philosophy?
My leadership philosophy. So I have a couple of them.
Okay.
In the classroom setting as an educator, rules without relationships equal defiance.
Wow. Can you say that again?
Rules without relationships equal defiance.
Wow. That's good.
Because I also tell the teachers that I work with that, hey, listen, you can have a bunch of rules, a laundry list of rules, but if there's not an appropriate positive relationship attached, the kids are not going to abide by anything that you try to place before them.
Yeah, it's trust. They won't trust you.
Right.
That's good, man.
Now, in life, philosophy is different. It goes back to an effective communication.
Sure.
Effective communication and active listening equals success.
Oh yeah. Anywhere, and if I could just compliment what you said by saying success also means different things.
Right.
Like success isn't just the advancement of me.
Right.
Success could be what I was able to deposit in you.
Right.
Right? Because I think a lot of times, like, listen, we live in a very individualistic society, right? Like you have Instagram, you have Facebook, you know, social media, it's social media, right? And it's all about you, especially, I mean, look, I'm somewhat of a, you know, a hypocrite in a sense, right? Because I have the book and we have the brand and the helpful leader, right? But it's about why we do those things, right? And so I love that you're talking about purpose. I love that you're talking about like what success really means, because it's less about what I can receive and it's more about what I can give.
Right.
You know? And so the other thing I wanted to discuss is we talked about your wife's name is Vanessa?
Yes.
So we talked about her in spurts, but I would love to know, you know, what was her contribution from a support standpoint to help you, because writing a book is no easy feat. Right. I know there's a lot that goes into that, and there's a lot that goes in here, and if you don't have the right support system, man, it might not work to the degree that you would like. So I would just love for you to share with our audience, you know, how beneficial Vanessa was to the success of this book.
Well, I would say this. She was definitely supportive. You know, that's my rock.
Yeah.
When I first started writing, though, I had to do something a little unorthodox.
Okay.
Initially, I didn't let her know.
Okay.
So I was just locked in the room, vibing.
Yeah.
Getting my bearings.
Yeah.
And going through the process. And when she eventually found out,
Mm-hmm.
you know, at first she was like, "Wow, you didn't tell me." But when I explained to her the reason behind not telling her, being because I didn't want to be swayed one way or another as far as some of the content that I put in my book, because there's some controversial things in there.
Sure.
But I know she would have used a little influence to let me know, hey, listen, if I was you, I wouldn't say this.
Sure,
or I would do this a little different.
Of course,
you know,
of course.
And I didn't want to be swayed, you know, because I didn't want to cheat myself, nor did I want to cheat those that needed to experience through reading some of the experiences that I had. Because oftentimes, and for those that are going to check out the book, you're going to see a lot of things in there that are relatable.
Yeah.
Definitely relatable. And there's a saying that the families in the 90s utilized, which was, what happens in this house stays in this house.
Sure.
And that saying has contributed to a lot of abuse, to a lot of misdealings in the households, to a lot of different things that kids really shouldn't be exposed to.
Sure.
And that saying has left a bad taste in my mouth personally, because I know for a fact if that wasn't instilled in me, I would have more than likely told someone in order to get out of that situation that I was in, or those situations that I was in growing up at an earlier age.
That's powerful. Man, you know, this kind of comes full circle because, you know, we talked about courage, confidence. We talked about people who mean well, but it might not be what we need. I've experienced that many times in my life, and I admire your commitment to your conviction. You had a conviction, and you knew what the vision was going to be for this book, or at least what you wanted it to be, and even to the most important human relationship you have in this world, which is your wife. You still protected that conviction, you know, not necessarily from her, but you wanted to preserve it. And so I love that, because, you know, we can be swayed, right? And, you know, it's kind of hit or miss. Sometimes that insight is necessary. But you knew from number one, it was clear the message that you have to put out. And so, man, shout out to you for sticking to your guns, but also to your wife, Vanessa, for coming alongside of you, giving you that creative that space to be creative, the creative freedom. You know, I'm sure there were times where she said, "You sure you want to keep this in there?" Like, I'm sure that didn't stop. You know what I mean?
So I do want to add this though.
Yeah.
Once she found out, she was definitely supportive. She let me be.
Yeah.
She let me do what I needed to do.
That's good.
Because she knew it was a lot, and it took a lot for me to pour my heart out.
Yeah.
Into this book.
Yeah.
And you know, I can I give her a shout out?
Of course.
I do want to give a shout out.
I've been trying to do that. Yeah, go ahead.
I do want to give a shout out to my wife, Vanessa. I do appreciate all your support. And without you, I wouldn't have had the courage to do what I need to do. You know, so.
Man, that's powerful, man. Shout out to Miss Vanessa. Look, if you're married and you have a project, you know, the producers of this podcast is a power couple, husband and wife. I would not have been able to complete The Helpful Leader or do what I do without the support of my wife. You know, so, man, I'm a firm believer, because especially when you are an entrepreneur or you're a visionary, it's not just you. Every dollar you invested in this book, every ounce of energy you spent putting it together, you took away from those who need you the most. And so you had to navigate through that. You had to do more. You had to, like you said, you had to lock in.
Right.
But lock in as a aspiring author, but also do more to still keep everybody's love tank full as a husband and a father and a friend. And so, man, it's never just us. It's never just me. It's those who come with me, because essentially we do it for them, but we do it for a greater purpose. So, man, thank you for sharing. Thank you for joining. I'm super excited about what you have going on, about the book signing at Barnes & Noble. And I just want to leave with one last thing before we go. We both kind of published our books around the same time, and you were very helpful in me getting The Helpful Leader out. And so I appreciate that. Can you think of one review that you've read that made you cry or really spoke to your heart out of the many, because you have a lot, where you realize this is why I wrote the book?
All right. So the most recent review I received was via telephone call.
Wow.
From one of my former students.
Okay.
And he hit me up and he said, "Mr. Lennon, I just want to say thank you." I was like, "What you mean?" He was like, "Man, your book." He was like, "Man, your book has me thinking about my relationship with my daughter."
Wow.
And the things that I need to do as a man in order to make sure they don't go through what I went through as a kid. And that hit my heart.
Sure.
Because that was the intention behind writing my book.
Yeah.
Not for financial gain, not to expose anyone, but just to let people know, especially parents, to let parents know that what you do does impact your kids, either directly or indirectly. What you expose your kids to affects your kids either directly or indirectly. And at the end of the day, everything that is centered around the family is impactful.
It's true.
And we have to be cognizant of that as parents.
Sure.
And as uncles, as father, parents. But uncles, aunts,
right.
Grandparents, friends of the family, best friends. Every situation could potentially be impactful, and it can be traumatic. You know, because your trauma may not look like my trauma, but it's still traumatic.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It may be something that was said. It may be something that was done, something that was experienced, something that was overheard. We have to be cognizant of what we do and what we say, because kids are sponges. You know?
Yeah.
So,
man, I just want to encourage everyone who's listening and watching. We're all going to go through trials in life, but your trials can lead to trails. And it's the same letters that make up the words. TRIAL is the trial. TRAIL is the trail. You get to choose if your trial becomes the trail that you need to be the version of yourself that you have to be for those after you. You get to choose, or your pain will be in vain. And so, Fernando, Thank you for joining. As always, please don't just be a listener of what was said today, but be a doer. Thank you for joining us on the Helpful Leader podcast, and we'll see you on the next time.